what a drop on Bitcoin, folks. Nearly breaking through the neckline, right? Looking quite dangerous a few hours ago, right? This is like Monday afternoon US time that I'm talking to you guys, and basically Bitcoin went crashing straight through that 91.5k support, but closed, right? The good thing is it closed very well. Ethereum not looking so good. So alt season, we're going to look at that today and see where that's going. Not looking as strong as Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin, what a bounce, right? Okay, I'm going to give you guys my forecast on Bitcoin first, and then we're going to go to some really big altcoins that we all think could be safe in an environment like this. But who knows? Is it safe? Let's go straight into it. So Bitcoin right here, right? The big head and shoulders, right? That has always been the big threat. Right now, see, the neckline is here, 91.7-ish, right? Let's call it 91.5 to be short. And we got down to 89.2 at one stage, and then boom, and it bounced. That's how tricky these markets are. That's why we look for a closing price. We look for a close. And right now, because this has bounced so well, my instincts are that we could have a move up to around this 100k area. Why? Because, see, this becomes a pressure line, trend line right here. So I've been saying to my Discord, I'm expecting a bounce to 100k area. I just didn't know they would do this wick down first. That's a bottoming tail. That's a pretty good one. Like last time we had that, right? Well, it still went down and sort of explored this area, but you know, these things usually tend to mark the bottom for the short term, and we get a bounce. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get to 100k, something like this, hit that, right? But the other thing is, you guys have seen me do this before in the last couple of weeks. If we were to link up these bottoming, right, tails, these bottoms, then we get also this, right, this trend line slanting down. And what happens is when you get that, then what happens is basically if we just draw these two lines, I've drawn it in green, then that's a downward wedge. Once again, that's a downward wedge. We've seen it before. We've drawn a downward wedge here, downward wedge, bounce out of it. Now, this is a much bigger downward wedge, bounce out of it. That's what I'm leaning towards, even though I have to say, I've been, warning that if Bitcoin does close below here, 91.5, let's call it, especially if it closes for 2 days in a row, then a drop to around 75 to 80k is probability just increases a lot. So let's have a look at where I think it could go next. So this gets interesting. Folks might remember that I used a Bitcoin fractal before. A Bitcoin fractal to portray where prices could go. And let me do that fractal once again. So basically, okay. This is the old price fractal for folks who are watching my videos for the first time. This fractal is basically taken from the bounce in July 2021, right? And basically, it's a bounce out of, we can see this, a downward wedge, right? I've drawn it again in red here. Right, we've got this red line here, this red line here. That's what you were looking at in green before, but now I've drawn it in red. I've taken this bounce and I'm using it once again to see if it can give us an indication. So it kind of lines up relatively well. Now, right now, I'm leaning towards a bounce. If we don't get any closes below 91.5, especially if we don't get two closes in a row, I'm sort of expecting maybe one more test and we'll get a bounce up. Once again, where's the fractal saying we're going? Around 115k area, right? So maybe Trump inauguration. If we're still down here by the time trial, we get the Trump inauguration, which is what, like January 20th. It's pretty close, only 7 days away. We might bounce here, right, and something like up when Trump starts announcing all his pro-crypto policies like this. Rather than sell the news, now it becomes buy on news because Bitcoin's already down to like 92k when this is all happening. But the situation with Ethereum, Solana, not looking as good. So we'll look at the total two. This is all the total crypto market cap. This is showing without Bitcoin. So this is showing where all the altcoins are. But before we get onto that, just give me 30 seconds to ask you guys, people, where does Pablo trade? Which crypto exchange does he use, right? Well, I've been using a non-KYC exchange. And as I've been telling folks, I use it because, right, it's very important that I have my privacy. So non-KYC means they don't ask for your ID, right? You don't have to show your ID. So of course, Americans can use it. That means the IRS, the ATO, the tax office, the CIA, FBI, nobody can see that it is you, right? And the biggest one out there, which gives you great liquidity, is this Bitunix. They're doing another campaign, another deal with Pablo Heyman right now, right? So $100 bonus just by depositing, and also a chance to win a MacBook Pro just by trading, right? Just by hitting certain trading volumes. Lots of great deals going on, but only with the Pablo Heyman link, because that's the Bitunix deal with Pablo Heyman. So if you're on YouTube, then basically it's in the description below, the link in the description below. If you're on any other platform, then basically just go to my page, right? Whatever platform you're on, then just click onto my page, the stand link, and it'll be the first option that pops up. So right there. Okay, so let's go back to Total 2. Total 2 basically is telling us that this close is not as strong. So have a look at this. We had a similar, right? We had a similar close like this before, right? And it ended in the green. So that signals we're headed up. Now this time, didn't get back up there. It still closed down here, right? This is Total 2, which is total market cap of altcoins. So once again, I'm expecting it to meander down something like this, maybe even touch 1.27T again. And then if Bitcoin doesn't break down at 91.5K area, then boom, up we go. Bounce from 1.27 to hit around this 1.47 area. That'll be the move down, and then up is the move I'm expecting. So that's provided if Bitcoin doesn't crash by going below 91.5K. Because if it does, and it closes down there, then we could be headed to like the 70s, 75 to 80K area. Okay. Now a lot of this performance depends on what Ethereum is doing. So let's have a look at Ethereum. Ethereum wasn't as impressive yesterday because what happened was Ethereum didn't make it all the way back on the bounce. So let's have a look at Ethereum. See, look, this is not looking good, folks, for Ethereum. So altcoins, I'm expecting some more downside, some more pulling back, because look, Ethereum right now, Bitcoin went down and then closed right here, right? Basically at same price as the open, almost. Ethereum closed down a lot lower, right? A lot lower. So yeah, it's a nice wick, but it's essentially closing down. It closed below this key support as well of 3,200 area. Why is it key support? Because we see it bouncing off here a couple of times. We see it bouncing off here a few times, right? And it was previous tops here as well. So basically, wicking down and once again, similar to the total chart for Bitcoin, for altcoins that I just showed you, Total 2, I'm expecting some sort of meandering down move like this, get to about low 3,000s, like 30.33, 30.30, 3,000, or even 29.90s, something like this, some sort of move like this, and then bounce, right? When it bounces like 3,400, this 3,400 area would be resistance. So, and also then let's have a look at another one, Solana, another popular Bitcoin. I'm showing you guys high confidence coins that everyone thinks will come back. Like if we're not in some sort of crazy crash right now, then these the so-called safer coins. Now Solana, very interesting because it did this bull flag between in yellow, I marked it in yellow, between 200 to 116. Yeah, gee, that's a wide bull flag, isn't it? And then went to 264-ish area, pulled back, and look, it keeps on bouncing off this bull flag. Bounced once, bounced twice. The problem is, once again, this is not a good close. We want it to close somewhere here or here, right? but it closed down here. So that's not a good bottoming tail. In fact, I wouldn't call that a bottoming tail at all. So once again, I'm thinking, right, a meander down to something like, you may not get 172.5 or whatever. It might get to like 174, 175-ish area and then bounce. On the way up, then basically 188, 189, that's the first target on the way up, and then 205 area. So overall, it's not looking great for altcoins. It looks like a bit more downside, unless we get a crazy bounce in Bitcoin. If we get a crazy bounce in Bitcoin, then a lot of these alts can basically just ignore what I've said and then keep going. But unless Bitcoin breaks above 100K and makes a run for 108K, I'm expecting, like I said, for the total altcoins, some sort of meandering down move for Ethereum, for Solana, and that means a lot of those coins will be in the same category in trouble as well. So now overall, this is going to be a huge week. We all know the CPI is coming out on Wednesday, but I'm going to tell you two more things that you don't know about. So one is basically the Japan is going to hike rates, possibly. They have a decision I think on the 25th of January, something like that, but they're going to give you hints in the interviews leading up to it, whether they're going to hike rates or not. And you may not remember, but check your charts on August the 5th. On August the 5th, the last time Bitcoin crashed down to 49K from 60s was because Japan hiked rates for the first time in like 15, 12 years. And that meant the Japanese yen went up, bounced up huge against the US dollar. That means it's a reversal of the yen carry trade. Have a Google of that. I mean, for guys in my Discord, for guys in who's been following me, already pretty well what that is. That could happen again in the next few days. If we get that sort of move, then stocks will crash, then Bitcoin will crash, most likely break down that 91.5K neckline and go into the 80s, if not the 70s. So that's a really big one to watch out for, what Japan does. And another one is the US debt ceiling situation. Trump's trying to negotiate with those guys. If they do actually pass the debt ceiling this time, then it means basically the US Treasury will start selling more bonds to raise money. They sell bonds to raise money. That could be a huge issue as well. So because that's when they sell bonds, they're taking money out of the market, they're taking liquidity out of the market. So that's another threat as well. So look, even though just looking at the chart, I am leaning towards a bounce. As of this stage, when I say leaning, it's like 60-40. 60-40, I'm leaning towards a bounce to 100K area. It could even break 100K to 115K area, like I showed you guys on the chart. But there are all these major black swans, like CPI data, right? Like Japan, Bank of Japan hiking rates, like the US Treasury selling a lot of bonds. That could all happen this week. Right. In fact, it's likely to happen this week. We just don't know which way it's going to go. It's too unpredictable here. As I've been saying for the last month or so, play defense, right? 50% plus defense, I've been saying for the last 3 to 4 weeks, right? Basically, we buy at the support and not just the first support level. Stink bids on the second support level, third support level, even lower. And then basically on the bounce, sell some at the resistance, right? Hope you guys have been paying attention. All right, thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time.